We like to tell ourselves a comforting story, that we are the rational pilots of our own lives. We believe that when we make a choice, we are weighing the facts, calculating the odds, and acting on logic. But there is a ghost in the machine. Psychologists have found that our minds are riddled with invisible shortcuts, glitches in our operating system that distort reality to make us feel safer, smarter, and more consistent than we actually are. Today, we are going to decode 3 of the very unknown, powerful cognitive traps that influence your money, your work, and your happiness. You know your bank account is suffering, and yet, you forget to open the banking app. No alert. No numbers. No problem. That little act of avoidance is the ostrich effect, the tendency to bury our heads in the sand and avoid information that might make us uncomfortable, even when that information is useful. We do it with money. I don't want to see my portfolio today. With health, I'd rather not know the test results, and with big issues like climate change, it's too depressing, I'd rather not think about it. The less we look, the safer we feel, even as the actual risk stays exactly where it is. Under the hood, this bias is powered by things like cognitive dissonance. If I see the truth, I might have to change, loss aversion, bad news hurts more than good news feels good, and distrust of negative feedback, that warning can't be right. So we avoid the very information that could help us adjust course. Interestingly, not everyone does this. Some people show the opposite pattern, checking more when things look bad. Researchers call that the meerkat effect. The key insight is simple but uncomfortable. Ignoring a problem protects your mood in the short term, and quietly increases the damage in the long term. The moment you stop acting like an ostrich and start acting like a curious human, information turns from something to fear into something you can use. Bias. Think of outcome bias as the mind's sneaky habit of grading decisions after the exam papers have already been marked. If the final result looks good, we call the decision smart. If things turn out badly, we call it reckless. All the messy uncertainty, the context, the logic, the information available at the time, gets erased by hindsight's spotlight. A surgeon chooses a risky operation with solid reasoning, but the patient dies. Suddenly the decision feels wrong, even though nothing about the original logic changed. Flip the outcome, patient survives, and the very same decision magically becomes brilliant. That's outcome bias, the illusion that good outcomes prove good judgment and bad outcomes prove bad judgment, even when luck is doing most of the heavy lifting. In business, sports, politics, and everyday life, this bias misleads us. A manager ignores data, takes a wild gamble, and gets lucky once. Now, instinct is praised over strategy. A coach loses a game by chance and rewrites the whole playbook out of misplaced self-blame. The real skill lies in judging decisions as they were made, not as they turned out. Because the quality of thinking matters far more than the luck of the bounce. Overconfidence. Overconfidence is the mind's grand illusionist. It whispers, "You've been right a few times, therefore you're right about everything." It turns a streak of lucky guesses into a sense of invincibility. It wraps uncertainty in a cloak of certainty. And it convinces us that gut feeling is more trustworthy than data, expertise, or probability. Psychologists see this bias in 3 forms. First, we overestimate ourselves. We think we're faster, smarter, more capable than we truly are. Second, we overplace ourselves. We assume we're better than the average person, even when the math doesn't add up. Third, we show overprecision. We express confidence so exact, so narrow, that reality has no room to breathe. Ask people how sure they are about an answer, and their confidence shoots far above their accuracy. Ask them to give a 90% confidence interval, and the truth falls outside it nearly half the time. Humans are astonishingly certain and astonishingly wrong, often at the same moment. This bias doesn't just shape trivia games. It fuels stock market bubbles, doomed business ventures, legal battles, and unnecessary wars. A trader wins a few risky bets and suddenly believes they have a sixth sense. A leader gets praised once and begins trusting instinct over evidence. A negotiator becomes convinced the other side will fold, because, well, they always have. Daniel Kahneman puts it sharply: confident people don't look deluded, they look competent. That's what makes overconfidence dangerous. It feels like strength. It looks like leadership. But confidence without calibration is just a beautifully polished guess. Overconfidence is the warm glow that blinds us. Mastery begins when we trade the glow for clarity, when we let curiosity outrank certainty. And allow reality, not ego, to set the limits of what we claim to know.